the Prime Minister is either a supreme optimist or a deluded, damaged leader post his near-death experience mishandling our country after the worst terrorist attack on Australian soil at Bondi just over a month ago. It's impossible to unsee those pictures of the Prime Minister turning up the day after the shootings that claimed 15 lives, Jewish lives, on his own, gripping a cheapy bunch of flowers, or to unhear, if that's even a word, the boos that greeted him, the jeers that greeted him at that Bondi memorial. If he thinks 4 or so weeks on that a national day of mourning that he announced today for an obscure day in the middle of next week, or what will now be a heavily scrutinised hate law bill and guns bill, will cause people to somehow forget a month of weakness, well, I'm sorry, Prime Minister, you are delusional. Here was today's announcement about the day of mourning.
This will have a theme of light will win, a gathering of unity and remembrance, which has been determined by the Rabbi. He has shown extraordinary leadership for someone who has lost family members in that community.
I'm sure he's genuine, but is he inspirational? No, he's not. You watch Prime Minister now, and for me, it just signals I'm watching a weak man. I hate to say it. Once the mob, as Paul Keating liked to call voters, the electorate, wakes up to your character flaws, you are in big trouble. I couldn't count the number of people who came up to me over summer and asked me what was going on with our Prime Minister. They were asking questions about leadership. He was, I said, rattled by the reception he got at the Bondi memorial service. His ego was completely fractured. His confidence was gone. And that's why we see this week his attempt to recover. Yesterday, it was the recall of Parliament and this so-called hate speech bill that a day later is seen to be full of holes.
The motion will unequivocally condemn the terrorist atrocity perpetrated at Bondi Beach and commit our Parliament to eradicating the evil of anti-Semitism. And I'm hopeful that it can deliver a powerful statement by all members and senators voting for the condolence motion.
Look, the problem for the Prime Minister here is obvious. The decision to jam together hate speech and gun buyback schemes on one piece of legislation has it set up to fail. I'm sure he doesn't want it to, but it probably will. Here was the former Deputy Prime Minister and Nationals MP Michael McCormack on this program talking about the gun issue last night.
Coalition hasn't as yet seen, as I understand, the legislation. We don't know how many pages it is. And to pack both the anti-Semitism hate speech laws and the gun buyback laws into one bill, they need to be separated. They're two totally different issues.
McCormack's right. Any fool could see that this will not pass muster with the Nats. And yesterday in the Northern Territory, their Chief Minister, Leah Finocchiaro, told Matt Cunningham from Sky that her government would not support limits on gun ownership.
We've seen New South Wales pull ahead and do their own gun reform already, and we deeply respect that, Matt, but I've been very clear the Territory has different considerations and different circumstances.
Then you have the get out of jail free card, as someone has put it, of exempting views expressed when they are quoted direct from a religious text for the purpose of teaching or discussion. And you don't need, according to the Australian newspaper today, and I'm quoting them, unnamed coalition sources, you don't need to be an expert on the Quran to work out how that's going to go. Of course, the government in the lower house doesn't need coalition support for the bill, but how will that look when this is supposed to all be about restoring social cohesion in Australia, which was a key plank of the Bondi Royal Commission? But when you get to the Senate, look, this is going to be even worse. Will the Greens pass it through? What about One Nation? The 2 days next week will have a massive role to play around whether I think the weakened leader of Anthony Albanese, already on the nose publicly, can actually survive within Labor until the next election. And on top of that, the PM pops out this morning with another unpopular member of his ministerial team, Penny Wong, and the pair would have us believe, laughingly, that Dr. Kevin Rudd has chosen to quit as US ambassador to the US a year early on his terms. Now, anyone with any examination of Kevin Rudd's ego would find that very hard to believe. But here was the Prime Minister answering a question from Sky's Cam Redden.
Was this entirely Kevin Rudd's decision to go?
Yes, it was entirely Kevin Rudd's decision.
Look, I'm pleased Kevin Rudd's getting out a year into his team. Now, I wrote this paragraph at the end of my weekly Herald Sun column a year into his ambassadorial job. I said at the end of that article, good luck, Prime Minister, you have installed a ticking time bomb in the Cleveland Avenue Embassy in Washington. That was after, of course, UK Reform leader Nigel Farage asked Donald Trump if he knew what Rudd had been saying about him. 2 years on from that column, we then had this delicious exchange during a meeting between the Prime Minister and President Trump, prompted by a question from our very own Andrew Clennell.
Taken 9 months to get this meeting. Have you had any concerns with this administration, with the stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President,
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will. Go ahead.
That was the political question of the year, in my view, from Andrew Clennell there. And look at Prime Minister Albanese. I mean, sitting there laughing as the leader of the free world, Donald Trump, belittles his own ambassador right there in front of him. Now, just a couple of months later, we are now to believe, apparently, that Kevin Rudd decided that he'd had enough. He won't be missed, in my view.